It is officially time for spoiler warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. Our top story today will be the end of the storyline between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber and the beginning of the storyline between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Always in the stars, always very clear what was going on. Sami Zayn will now move on to the tag division far, far away from Roman. His time in the Bloodline, connected to the Bloodline, getting over based on the Bloodline, is essentially at an end because he will simply be knocked down the pecking order away from Roman into the Usos now. This is the story that has been dominating WWE and wrestling feeds. Sami Zayn trying to wrestle the championships away from Roman Reigns and failing. Unfortunately, and failing. However, the WWE were always planning a loss for Sami Zayn. In fact, early on in the storyline, there was no actual plan for a match for Sami Zayn. He has been able to convince the WWE to give him that opportunity, and it's been a huge opportunity that he has done great things with. However, the moment has now passed. The WWE's plan since June was for Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble and to defeat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania in the main event of Night 2, which is essentially the main event. That's been the plan since June. That is still the plan now. Sami Zayn, for all the effort, and all the success in getting himself over, has never been considered main event material by the WWE. Now, I did report last week that Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn, both of their storylines with Roman Reigns, had the input of Vince McMahon on creative. That is still the case. It is Vince McMahon who decided on Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Triple H isn't believed to have been looking to pivot, but there is a much higher chance of a pivot coming if Triple H had been in full control of the moment. However, he was not. Vince McMahon was also involved in planning for it. There is plenty more news to come, including talk of Bray Wyatt, John Cena's return, AOP, Ariel Helwani a little bit as well, and we are going to go into a fake news breakdown of some of the big reports about Elimination Chamber and more. So stay tuned and ask your questions as well. Let's start getting to the questions as we get through the news. Please remember to hit like as you enter the room. Every thumbs up makes a massive difference to the growth of the channel, and I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you haven't already. So, let's start with Bailey saying, hello Tom, that was a great weekend of wrestling. It really was. SmackDown also a great show going into it. Spider-Boss says, hello Tom, congratulations to Mercedes Money, who's not here by the way. She's not here, so I don't know why you're congratulating her in the stream. Not sure on that one. Recently in an interview, Charlotte Flair said unifying the women's titles means less opportunities for other women. She does believe that, and to be honest, so do I. Very much so do I on that one. Simon says, hi Tom, Mercedes Money Mania, the brand new IWGP Women's Champion running wild. Again, she's not here. She's not here right now, but I appreciate that you're all congratulating her. Maybe congratulate her, though. Welcome, Michael, on the Twitch side, subscribing for a record 24th month. That is 2 years subscribing to this Twitch channel. And Michael, for 24 months, I will say thank you. And for every day thereafter, I will say thank you. I appreciate you, sir. Ken says, why did Liv get eliminated so early? Are WWE losing faith in her? No. In fact, it's the exact opposite. They eliminated her early and under 2 submission moves in order to protect her. She did not tap. She passed out from the pain of 2 separate submissions applied at the exact same time. She was very well protected. Dark Society says, good evening, Tom. How are you doing? Doing very well, thank you, Dark Society. Welcome. It's always nice to know that there is a Dark Society supporting me, much like a Dark Order, but I imagine much more, structured and planned. Richard Smith, welcome, says, hello, Tom and all. Looking forward to tonight's show. Christoph says, hi, Tom. Hello, Christoph. And Callie says, evening, Tom, as well. Evening, Callie. How are you? Austin Palmenter says, what are your thoughts on WWE being favourites to get Jay White? I believe the prevailing thought at the moment is excitement. I'm a big fan of Jay White, as most of the regulars here are fully aware. And if he does come to the WWE, which seems more likely now than ever, I believe it's going to be an amazing time to be a wrestling fan. I've already spoken about the idea of Jay White versus Seth Rollins as a plan for after WrestleMania, if in fact Jay White does arrive, but there are plenty of other people, including Edge, Cody as an obvious choice, so it does seem like Jay White to Raw would be more likely based on the planning that they are currently undertaking, just in case Jay White does sign. Richard says, hope everyone enjoyed Elimination Chamber and Battle in the Valley. Great shows. The image of Mercedes Money and Kazuchika Okada, championships in the air, that image going viral is everything that New Japan was looking for, but they also got a lot more people watching. So overall, a great night for New Japan. Kali was genuinely gutted that Sami Zayn lost. I know a lot of people are disappointed with it, but unfortunately it was simply never the plan for Cody to be as big as he is. And that does basically mean that Cody Rhodes was always going to be the guy to carry the championship forward, and he still very much is. I do think it's possible that Sami Zayn may end up with a brief championship run at some point this year. In fact, as I speak, the WWE creative are putting plans together which involve a potential Sami Zayn championship run. Essentially, right now, and you can take this one to the bank, Sami Zayn is a hot commodity in the WWE, and Triple H has instructed creative, let's see if there's anything you can write that works for it. Can you write something that works for Sami Zayn as a top-level champion? If creative can do it, if Triple H can do it, we will make it happen, is essentially what we're hearing from the WWE at the moment. Sai says, evening all, I didn't realise they're still in Canada for Raw tonight. I hope for Cody's sake they have something good for him. I believe that Sami Zayn will be on Raw tonight, essentially passing the torch and passing the moment to Cody. Also, hi Sai, how you doing, mate? Eric says, Tom, I hope this shows Sami can be a main champion, maybe Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is certainly something being discussed as we speak. Justin Check says, in quotes, Triple H is disappointed by some. Spoiler warning, weeks ago, yeah and no, he brought them in to add depth. It's funny because I believe there was a Fightful Select report either today or yesterday which confirmed exactly what I've already reported. Always nice when that happens. You know, you get reinforcement of the message. Noob says, hello Tom, how are you doing? Doing very well, thank you Noob, welcome to the show. Spider-Boss loved New Japan's Battle at the Valley. What was your favourite non-Mercedes match, Spider-Boss? I'm always interested to find this because obviously it's a different style. Simon has particularly mentioned Zack Sabre Jr. versus Clark Connors. Zack Sabre Jr. will always be your favourite wrestler. I promise you, he's amazing. And of course, Okada versus Tanahashi. Joey says, hi Tom, do you have any news on the Kenny Omega contract situation? Not at this point in time, no. I haven't been able to collect anything about Kenny Omega. It's a very carefully watched secret. Moxie said, Tom, do you see Edge beating Austin Theory? No. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello, Michael. Spider-Boss says, where do you see Jay White going after he lost his match on Saturday? WWE are clearly the favourites at the moment, and I do believe we are more likely to see that now than ever before. Justin Check is excited for a fake news breakdown. To be fair, when I say fake news breakdown, I also celebrate correct reports that relate to the pay-per-views incoming and after. The Royal Rumble was a special case, of course, because there was so much to say about one particular outlet, which we do not cover here. Jermaine, welcome, says, my only problem with Cody is that WWE should never have given him number 30 entrance in the Rumble, have him look weak against Gunter, who's been there as a number 2 entrance. I wouldn't say he necessarily looked weak against Gunter, though what I will say is he is just returning from injury, and he's still not 100%. Callie says, any news on what the plan is with Jey Uso? I've got to be honest with you, Callie, absolutely no news whatsoever, and I like that. I have no idea with Jey Uso. With Sami, I've known basically since day one. With Cody, I've known since day one, and I've reported it. With Bray Wyatt, I knew a month ahead of time. I know nothing on Jey Uso, and it is amazing. Dark Society says, when do you think Jey will turn on Sami? I've absolutely no idea. Daz, welcome, says, big up Tom, do you think we get Edge versus Balor tonight? Nope. We have Edge versus Theory tonight. Richard Smith says, Tony Khan continues to be an embarrassment to AEW. I will be discussing that one a little later. Sean says, I love that they left us with more questions coming from the Elimination Chamber. The story of whose side is Jay on and the story of KO and Sami trying to become friends again should be great. It's difficult to trust Kevin Owens for very, very obvious reasons. He literally betrays everyone he's ever been with. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I do apologise, the cough is still very much prevalent. But please remember to hit like as you join the channel. We have 75 viewers and only 17 likes right now. Every thumbs up makes a massive difference to the growth of the channel. We have sort of gone backwards a little bit over the last few weeks. So I'm really hoping we can regain some momentum over the next few as we build towards WrestleMania. We have actually lost some subscribers. Now, I'm never upset when we lose subscribers because the subscribers we lose won't have been watching anyway. So we're not actually losing anything other than a number, but it still hits every now and then. Razar says, what is the night one main event going to be for WrestleMania? Charlotte versus Rhea or something else? Charlotte versus Rhea is competing with the tag match as we speak. Peter Robert says, hi Tom, there is no way Cody Rhodes is beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. Hi Robert, there is every way Cody Rhodes is beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. Leuven says, hey Tom, hello Leuven. Spider-Boss says, Montez Ford's performance on Elimination Chamber was good. The entire men's Elimination Chamber was an incredible match, well worth watching, not just Ford. Moxie says, Tom, what do you see next for Montez Ford? More matches as Street Profits. Traffic says, good evening, Tom and chat. In your opinion, Tom, when do we finally see Cody and Roman face to face? Very, very soon. I'd imagine within the next week or so. Naz says, hey Tom, it's nice WWE's building their tag division with star power with the Mania match and hopefully free agents like AOP and FTR on the way. And they may well be on the way. Joey says, WrestleVotes reported WWE creative team are already pitching ideas for a possible Jay White debut. Have you heard anything on this? I did cover this just a moment ago. There are pitches currently being put together for Jay White. Most of them include Seth Rollins. Callie says, Seth and Johnny would make a good tag team. They would. Peter Roberts says, Tony Khan called Ariel Helwani a fraud after he appeared at WWE SmackDown. Shortly afterwards, just to be clear, Ariel Helwani accused Tony Khan of being a cocaine addict. Leuven says, Jay White and Karrion Kross in a faction? Why? Traffic says Cena was announced for the 6th Raw. Is that to set up him versus Fury? So, the news about John Cena. He is going to be returning to the WWE shortly. Raw on March 6th, as you've just mentioned there, Traffic, has been announced. This is to set up a potential WrestleMania match. Austin Theory has been promised on several occasions by WWE, particularly by Vince McMahon, a match against John Cena. And there is a rumour that John Cena himself has promised Austin Theory that match. So I can see that one happening. John Ireland is excited for Jay White versus Seth, AJ, Finn, Cody, Edge, KO. Yes, Jay White versus Yes is going to be a lot of fun. Noob says Asuka is the first woman in the WWE who won the Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank and Elimination Chamber alongside the likes of John Cena, Edge, Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. Yes, she is also the first woman in the WWE and outside of the WWE to win those things as well. Christoph says, how did you find Jay White versus Eddie Kingston? I know you're a big fan, but to be honest, I was more impressed by David Finlay's heel promo after the match than by the match itself. I personally am not the biggest fan of Eddie Kingston in ring. I think his promos are incredible, but in ring, I'm just not really a big fan of his style. It's a bit more brawly, and that's not really Jay White's style. But Jay White in general, it's not so much about the wrestling as the storytelling. The wrestling is just a part of that storytelling. Leuven says, Jay White, Cross and Dijak. Again, why? Also says, can you see the vision? Jermaine says that book decision at the Royal Rumble has nearly ruined Cody Rhodes. Then WWE booked Sami like Daniel Bryan. Again, that makes Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns that much tougher to get that match over. You say that, Jermaine, but the match is over. The match is over. People are hyped for this match. Every single time we talk about it in this channel, people vote Cody Rhodes rather than Sami Zayn. People are hyped for it. Spiderball says, do you think that fans could turn on Cody once he became champion? Yes, just like fans can turn on literally every single person when they become champion and when they don't. Mike says WWE should pick up Ibushi. He doesn't want much. Does he want the WWE though, or does he want to be where Kenny Omega is? And does that not depend on where Kenny Omega ends up? Richard Smith said Roman Reigns has been great as champion, but looking forward to Cody as champion, which of course contradicts what Jermaine's just said. Simon says, basically Liv was protected very strongly like Stone Cold versus Bret Hart at Mania 13. Moxie says, Tom, when Cody wins at Mania, how long do you see his title reign being? Significant, but nowhere near Roman Reigns significant. Moxie wants to see Montez Ford win Money in the Bank. Michael says, Eddie and Jay killed it. Kenta and Fred Rosser had a fantastic match too. Spider-Boss's favourite match was Jay White versus Eddie Kingston. Leuven says, let's be real, Japanese wrestlers don't get booked well in WWE, same with luchadors. Jay White is not a Japanese wrestler, Leuven's. Just to be clear on that. Given the references you're making, I'd imagine you know. Harry says, Tom, hi, any news about WWE Hall of Fame yet? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing on that one. Nobody has anything. Nothing is leaking because seemingly nothing's been decided. Peter says, will you watch WWE Raw tomorrow? Probably yes. Probably. Moxie says, Tom, do you see Montez as US champ sometime this year, next year? Maybe, unlikely. I see him being established firmly in the mid-card first, essentially making it clear that he is his own man now before we start getting towards championships. Joey says, apparently Kota Ibushi said he would be open to working for WWE if they let him train talent on the PC. Do you think it could happen? It could, however, there would have to be a tryout system first. Simon says, really enjoying Liv and Raquel's new tag team. Really seems Liv loves big, strong women like Rhea and Raquel. I may have made mention of that in the watch-along, because there's something on it. Spider-Boss says, Sami spearing Jey in Elimination Chamber wasn't very oozy, and Jey may have something to say about that, because that essentially is going to be the beginning of the storyline for the Tag Team Championship match. Michael says, so you've known everything about everyone but Jey since day one-ish. Almost. See, here's the thing. Jey Uso was supposed to get one match with Roman, and then everyone was supposed to move on. There wasn't supposed to be an I Quit Hell in a Cell match. After that, I know nothing. After that, I know absolutely nothing for Jay White, but I know that. Luvens wants Jimmy versus Jay. I don't see the WWE ever doing that because it'd be a very hard match to call. Jay says, hey Tom, before Edge retires, do you see them having another Seth storyline? Nope. Jermaine says, hey Tom, what do you think of Mercedes Money versus Kairi for the IWGP this past weekend? It was a very, very good match, a very good New Japan match, and if you're a New Japan fan, or if you're not a New Japan fan, it'll keep you around. Christoph says, Fightful confirming your rumour killer report like it was a rumour killer of their own. The truth will be revealed. Joey says, what is the plan for Jey Uso since he didn't take any sides at the Chamber? I have absolutely no idea. Fourth time I've said it, I enjoy it every time. Keep them coming. Callie says, can't wait for Bray versus Bobby. More on that shortly. And Venom says, hi Tom. Hi Venom. Book Spaceman says, I really hope they haven't done everything they've done with Asuka and turned her to Kana and new theme just to feed her to Bianca. Asuka deserves a Mania moment. To be clear, they've not really referenced Kana much. This is still Asuka, but a variant of her. We are heading into WrestleMania, where I do think she will be picking up the win. The Dark Society says that's going to... A lot of people is going to hate the fact that Sami will not be added to the main event of WrestleMania. Yep, well, they'll get over it pretty much immediately after the match is done. Simon says, do you see the WWE turning the women's triple threat tag team title match into a four-way, perhaps with Natty, Shotzi inserted in? It's possible. It's also possible to turn it into a straight tag match. I don't see it, because that's not what I'm hearing, and that's not how I'm seeing Liv be booked, but it's still a possibility. Moxie says, Tom, maybe it's Solo and Jimmy versus Sami and KO. Then instead of Sami screwing Roman, Jey hits Roman with a chair at WrestleMania, then have Cody win. Nope. The main reason I say nope on that one is because Jey Uso would not abandon his brother like that, even if Solo did step in. Jey will be there for Jimmy. That's proven fact already at this point. Spider-Boss says, has the moment that has Sami Zayn, even with him in tag team, he should main event night one of WrestleMania. And it's very possible he will. Marcel says, hey, how are you? Hey, Marcel, I'm doing very well, thank you. I hope you're good as well. We currently have 89 viewers, but still only 27 likes. Please do remember to hit like as you join the channel. And of course, ask away with any questions that you have. Subscribe if you haven't as well, if you're new to the show. And if you've never seen it before, we still have plenty of news to come. We are doing a rumour killer section. We are doing Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, and so on. We have already spoken about Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. We're talking AOP. We're talking Triple H's booking. And we're talking Ariel Helwani. Pardon me. So please remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Leuven says Kevin had literally betrayed Sami like 15 times his Ring of Honor. Sami Zayn was not in Ring of Honor. I don't know who you're thinking about, but Kevin Owens did tag with El Generico at times. I know they have similar builds. And coming into WWE, and yes, it matters because they're playing the lifelong friends angle. Personally, Sami shouldn't have. I'd imagine there's more, but I know the gist of this. Sami Zayn, I don't think will immediately trust Kevin Owens, which is good storytelling. Simon says, your thoughts on Kenta beating Fred Rosser for the New Japan Openweight title? Gets it back with the Touring Brigade. Kenta will be defending it much more often. And the Never Openweight does have a point to prove, and they need it on main shows. Will, welcome, says, with CM Punk coming back to AEW, do you know how Kenny and the Bucks feel about it? Have CM Punk tried to apologise to them? CM Punk has not tried to apologise to anyone in AEW. In fact, he hasn't been at an AEW show since the moment that the altercation happened. Traffic says, would love to see Cena versus Theory at WrestleMania. I'd even say let it main event night one. It will not be doing so. Omega says, Tom Colohue. Welcome, sir. How you doing? Kelly says, is Nia Jax returning? No idea. You got me. Khalid says, hey Tom, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you too, Khalid. Of course, it is Monday, but happy Friday regardless. Joey says, will TK still get that streaming deal he wanted with the bad viewership they've been doing? No confirmation on this one at this point in time. Negotiations are actively ongoing, and from where I'm sitting, I don't personally think it's going to be looking good. Leuven says, am I the only one that loved Beth and Rhea's work in their mixed tag match? I want them to have a one-on-one. It'll be really good. A one-on-one is likely happening in the next few weeks. Moxie says, maybe they're keeping the Hall of Fame a surprise till Mania. I've mentioned that one myself. Joey says, do you think Montez will get a singles run after his big performance at the Chamber? Yes, I do think he will. I've been suspecting he will for a while now. Nas says, I want Bray versus Brock over Bobby. I like standing on top of him, like in a shark cage. Will says that makes sense after WrestleMania, that WWE would book Jay White versus Seth Rollins, because Seth has said he would love to wrestle Jay a couple of years ago, and to be blunt, the two of them would make magic. Peter Roberts says, Dave Meltzer is reporting everything Tom has confirmed. Not everything. He also reports his own stuff, which is not always proven true. James Jones, welcome, says, Joey, I don't know, it all depends what their and the network's goals are. Is this in reference to the Montez Ford singles run? Because the network not really with the WWE at the minute. Why are you answering people? Why are you answering the questions? I'm confused. The questions are for me, mate. Questions are for me. Although, actually, sorry. You're entitled to your opinion. Jump it in. Welcome to the show. Chat along. Sorry. I was confused for a moment there. Jump on in. Go nuts, mate. Go nuts. Tommy B says, will Omega leave AEW for WWE? If he chooses to, yes. Book Spaceman says, hi, Tom. How confident are you Cody will win at Mania? Because don't you think WWE wants Roman to hit 1,000 days as champion to beat Bruno's record? No, I think they still want Bruno's record in place, and I think Cody Rhodes has been the guy for a long time. Leuven says, Liv is giving me the weird Mickey James vibes. Why? Callie says, I love the crowd at the Elimination Chamber. Spiderboss says, funny that Fightful use the same news that we see weeks before on spoiler warning. We do get a few of that. I don't want to sit here and bash Fightful. I just want to be clear on that. I don't want to sit here and bash Fightful. It's a good thing when my work is confirmed by other journalists. That's a good thing. So it basically just reinforces that what I do here is good. So it's a good thing. Tristan says, yo, Tom, who's getting inducted this year in the 2023 Hall of Fame? Still absolutely no announcements. Still nothing being leaked. Still nothing being shared. I have still absolutely no idea. Simon says, what do you think of the Mania 39 trailer with Becky and Seth? It was weird, but I like weird. Dark Society says, who do you see Cody fighting after he wins the titles? I previously mentioned Bobby Lashley is a possibility. Now that I'm seeing Bray Wyatt more involved, I do think Bobby Lashley is going to beat Brock Lesnar clean at some point soon. So that does sort of eliminate Bobby Lashley from the running. Though, of course, we could forget Bray Wyatt for a little while. Though Bray Wyatt will not let us do that. Moxie just wants everyone at war. Bailey says, do you see a non-title program between Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan? Alexa seems to have no direction right now. No, because of the different brands that they're on right now. However, I wouldn't mind that. I think it could be telling and very fun. Though I do think there is some similarities with the characters as they're presented now, which would make it sort of awkward. Alyssa says, do you think Cody Rhodes wins at WrestleMania? Yes. Said that one a lot. Harry says, Tom, any news about WWE for sale? Yes, but I'm waiting on a couple more bits of information on this one. I do have something on that, but at the moment, all I can really sort of tease, I'm really waiting for quite a bit of clarification. All I can really tease is something I referred to as the 10 billion bid, which is worth 6 billion because of outstanding charges. So at the moment, I'm waiting on more information. This may be a members video, but at the moment, all I can really tease is a $10 billion bid that will be worth around $6 billion. Vegeta says, as regards Seth, he faces Logan Paul at Mania, period. Jay White may face AJ. Jay White is unlikely to wrestle at WrestleMania at this point. After all, he's not with the company at the moment. Joey says, do you think Lita and Trish will still team up with Becky to take on Damage Control? Maybe. If they wanted to do it now, they'll want to do it in future, but there is a lot of availability to consider. Chris Parrish, welcome, sir. Welcome to the show. For those who aren't aware, Chris Parrish runs Our Local Establishment, a YouTube channel that I've appeared on moderately recently for a Sunday brunch show that you may quite enjoy. Simon says, I really enjoyed the MC Machine Guns, Motor City Machine Guns match, as they are my second favourite tag team in history. Ooh. Peter Roberts says it'll be a sad day if WWE is getting sold. Depends who it's sold to. Tristan says, will Jay White debut at WrestleMania or the Raw after WrestleMania? First, he would need to sign with the WWE, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Daz Reynolds says, when do you think Randy and AJ will be back, Tom? I've already released a video on Randy Orton and his general return schedule. I can't be more specific right now. As regards AJ Styles, I don't believe he has a match booked at WrestleMania. Lubin says, I was adamant that Cody wasn't going to go back to WWE, especially at WrestleMania, but it happened, so Kenny might come to WWE. I did really enjoy when the Cody news first broke, and I think I was about 2 shows in, so it was still in February last year when I reported that Seth Rollins was a planned match. And it was interesting because people were filling the chat telling me that it was wrong, that Cody was not going anywhere. It was amazing, the vitriol and the bile coming out of people over this idea that Cody Rhodes would swap sides. That's what WWE really wanted. And I feel that's one of the reasons Cody Rhodes has been pushed as strongly as he is. So yeah, it certainly opens a door. And when you take away a founder of the opposition, suddenly you think everyone's available. Venom says, do you think we see the start of the tag title feud between KO, Sami and the Usos? Yes. James says, Tom, what do you think about Jay White? Do you think he's coming finally? I think at this point it is more likely he is coming than he's not, personally. To be clear, not a report. Leuven says, if Kenny comes to WWE, I'd be happier than when AJ Styles debuted. At this point, it's very difficult to say that AEW are considered by fans to be legitimate competition when you consider that everybody wants everyone to go to WWE again. Venom says, I don't think Edge becomes US champ tonight. How about you, Tom? No chance in hell. Spider-Boss says, any WrestleMania match for Bray Wyatt? It doesn't look like it at this point in time, no. And in fact, before we continue with the chat, let's talk about that because I've got a little bit on that. So the call for Bray Wyatt to be involved in Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, he never made it specific what was going to happen. He said he'd be coming after the winner, but he can't because it's happening on Raw and SmackDown. So he could only technically come after Brock. Bray Wyatt has generally not been on Raw. However, with the draft planned after WrestleMania, there is going to be a muddying of the water in the weeks to come, and we are going to see Bray Wyatt swapping sides a little more often. Rhea Ripley is the obvious one who will be on both shows. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens also likely to be on both shows. The Bloodline will be doing a lot of back and forth. So this will muddy the water as to who's on Raw, who's on SmackDown. Personally, I still believe that Judgment Day will be moving to SmackDown, and that will kick off the draft after Rhea Ripley wins the championship. Then there is just a matter of the World Championships to sort out. But for Bray Wyatt, it doesn't look like Bray Wyatt versus Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar is planned for WrestleMania. It looks like we're still getting Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley one-on-one for WrestleMania, meaning after that match, we will then see the arrival of Bray Wyatt. With this in mind, I do think Brock Lesnar is a lot more likely to be the challenged rather than Bobby Lashley, meaning Bobby Lashley can then move into the match with Cody. Christoph says, Mercedes revealed she's still a free agent is very interesting. Amazing so many sources were so wrong about her contract status. I'm still not 100% behind it personally. I'm still not. But that's just me. Richard says, Alexa and Liv would be a great tag team. Chris Parrish is asking, what am I drinking? This is Iron Brew. If you're not aware of it, it is toxic stuff and very Scottish. Sometimes you just feel like perking up. And also, Iron Brew. The show colours are orange and black. So you got orange and black, orange and black. I'm a red panda. For those who don't know, I'm a red panda. And it just suits the spoiler warning colours, which I didn't even decide. That was Sai making a graphic and me being like, yes. Omega says, I'd like to see Sarah Logan versus Cody for the WWE title. Sure you would. Yes, Chris, absolutely. We'll have a chat about that and get on our local establishment a little bit more. Sai, I'll grab it myself. Oh, Ed, perfect, you're here. Ed, would you be able to grab a link for me, please, to promote? Razar says, is the pay-per-view after WrestleMania going to be a Saudi show? There is a Saudi show planned for May. However, I can't guarantee that they're not going to do a WrestleMania Backlash separately and just do sort of 4 back-to-back and then slow down afterwards. Dark Society says, if you were in charge of WWE, would you let Roman Reigns hit 1,000 days as champion? Nope. If I was in charge of WWE, Sami Zayn would currently be champion. Tristan says, how good are the chances of Kenny Omega signing with WWE? I cannot sit here and say any percentage. Come on, guys. You're asking me to guess. And then what you're going to do is take my guess as an informed guess, which is not. JJ says, is it just me? But I'm not a big fan of Bray Wyatt in the ring, but he's a really good storyteller. I do feel that a bit more work does need to go into the in-ring quality, as it were. But it really depends on what Bray Wyatt's plans are. If his plan is to do every now and again a very brief but memorable interaction rather than anything actually wrestling, then I can see that working. After all, he's wrestled once since October. Once. In, 5 months? One wrestling match. Keen World Peace, also asking for news on Kenny. At the moment, I don't have anything. What I will do is I will start asking a lot more questions because clearly you guys are very interested in that. So I'll try and put a video together based on it if I get anything. I can't guarantee anything. I'm not very well connected in AEW. Not very well connected at all. But I'll see what I can do. Joey says apparently Paul Ellering will be negotiating AOP's return to WWE. Do you know if contract discussions have begun? This is a report from Fightful stating that. The last I had on AOP was about 4 months ago, reporting that there had been contact. They were on the list that Triple H wanted to bring back. At this point in time, to my knowledge, there have been a number of different conversations and things are looking promising. However, when it comes to contract negotiations, I'm not aware of anything being signed at the moment. Spider-Boss says it's amazing the heat that Dominic is getting from fans. Dolph Ziggler, 2010 to now, so not before 2010, says Baron Corbin will be impersonating other wrestlers every week. I hate it, but they do it a lot. They do it a lot. Too many times they've done this. It's a panic button. Harry says, Tom, do you think Dustin Rhodes will leave AEW for WWE to reunite the Rhodes brothers? No, I think he'll probably move on to his own thing. James says, I understand how you like the Triple H movement since taking over so far. Right. When it comes to Triple H, I'm very happy with the way he's building shows now. I'm finding it much more compelling TV. That said, I'm more of a sports entertainment fan than a wrestling fan, which means sometimes the match length gets a little self-indulgent for me. But this is one of the reasons I do watch-alongs. Because I've got to be honest, the Elimination Chamber watch-along, we started to do a 30-minute conversation about the best crisp in the world. And can I just say, I've eaten a lot of salt and vinegar disco since then. Like a lot. Which is your fault. Alyssa says, push Cody Rhodes. They are doing. Like, he's won the Royal Rumble. Vegeta says, Bray just attacks at Mania instead of having a match. That seems more likely right now. Seems more likely. Okay? It's really hard for me to sit here and say this is definitely happening because I can't sit here and say it's definitely happening. Joey says, why did Bray tease going after Brock or Bobby if they never planned to do a match? To add more excitement to the Elimination Chamber match. Also, I believe they are still planning a match, just not immediately. It's Bray Wyatt. Whenever he tells you he's going to do something, he tends to take about 2 months before he actually does it. He needs to talk about it first. Chris Perry says, will Bobby Roode be a valid choice to be the first challenger for Cody after a title win? I find it very unlikely we're going to see Bobby Roode. Bobby Lashley, I found more likely. But Bobby Roode, he's spent a lot more time working on coaching at the moment. He's recovering from an injury. I don't necessarily see him challenging Cody. Bobby Lashley is who I think will be up there with him starting off. Outside of that, it becomes a bit more difficult because there are less obvious people, less obvious challenges at that point, but that's why we're having a draft after all. I think we're going to see Cody Rhodes versus Gunter in a program before the end of the year. Dad says, anything announced for Seth tonight? Yes, he will be facing The Miz. Christoph says, do you think Mercedes could be lying about her contract status? Why would she? Not necessarily saying she's lying. Not necessarily saying that. I don't know one way or the other. She's a first-hand source, so I've got to trust this. She's absolutely accurate. Noob says, yesterday I drank Starry, a spiritual successor of Sierra Mist. Cool. Harry says, any news about Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler returning soon? Dolph Ziggler is available, but he's currently working on more comedy stuff. He is, as Vegeta says a little later on, having a match tonight. He will be involved. As regards Robert Roode, as I've said, recovering from injury, backstage at the moment, doing a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. No worries, Chris, no worries. We try and share the love here. We try and share the love. Thank you, Ed, as well. I appreciate that. Like, I ask for something, you do it. It's really helpful. It saves me a lot of time and effort. You're a wonderful person to have around. Moxie says, Tom versus Brock Lesnar. Can I say, Moxie? No. Sean says, hello, Lord Colohue of Blackpool. How art thou? Doing very well, thank you, especially with that esteemed introduction. Will says, let's say after Brock and Bobby and them doing Brock versus Bray, can you see them doing Brock versus Cody with Brock putting Cody over? Yes, absolutely. That screams SummerSlam main event to me. However, at the moment, Brock is a face, which means Brock versus Cody will not be happening. When it comes to other big names, it's going to be difficult to immediately pick someone, especially with very few top-level heels at the moment outside of Roman Reigns. So we look at, for example, what's going on the Raw side. Seth's not a heel at the moment either. So it's getting more and more limiting. I would imagine, and would very much enjoy, Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor, with Finn Balor beating Edge at WrestleMania and continuing to be on a hot streak. Simon says, your thoughts on Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano's great breakout performance in the men's US title chamber? It was a good performance. I wouldn't necessarily say a breakout performance, considering we know what they can do. Leuven says, Tom, why are people saying CM Punk is returning? CM Punk is still a AEW wrestler. He is trying to get bought out for a 7-figure sum. However, Tony Khan has essentially been resistant to that the whole time and is intending to wait him out. Now, at this point in time, it gets very, very difficult because news starts to get leaked to Dave Meltzer and such, and it becomes one of those moments where you really aren't sure who's in control of the situation, because CM Punk certainly thinks he is, and making an appearance at New Japan's show is very telling as well. Tristan Sloan says, will Goldberg wrestle for WWE this year? No. Simon says, who do you see Mercedes Money's first challenger in New Japan for a world title? I believe there is already a challenger and she's not in New Japan. JJ says, do you know if they added more people to have a big entrance for WrestleMania? Nope, the report that I've had on Friday is the only report I have so far. Chris says, salt and vinegar is a top choice. Man after my own heart. Man after my own heart. Thank you, James. Seriously, mate, jump in, talk whatever. It works for me. Ask your questions, I always love them. Senior Bill. Ooh, senior. Says, hi Tom, do you think WWE could revisit Drew versus Brock this year? Not right now, with Brock being a face. They are trying to keep them separate. I also suspect they're going to be on different brands very shortly. Ghost says, hello Tom and chat, hope everyone is doing well. Chris says, any news on Trish appearance on Raw tonight? At the moment, they are building towards Bayley versus Becky one-on-one for WrestleMania. So if we do see Trish and Lita, it would simply be a case of the triple threat, the 6-woman tag happening between those two sides in the Raws between. I think that's certainly possible, but it depends on the status of Dakota Kai. Katana Pawns All. Firstly, welcome to the show, and secondly, welcome to the channel membership section. A huge thank you for your generosity there. Becoming a channel member, giving essentially a monthly donation and a commitment there. You will get a selection of members-only videos. There's not too many of them at the moment, but there's a little bit on what I knew when for Bray Wyatt, for example. I'm going to be doing one of those for Sasha Banks as well, considering when I broke down each piece of information, and a little bit more on certain people currently in the public eye. Also, of course, the WWE sale video is possibly going to be a members-only video as well, considering I'm still waiting on certain pieces of information, so it's hard to be able to say, oh, I'll have something on Tuesday, and then the YouTube algorithm sort of works against me. Moxie says, Tom, when Cody wins at WrestleMania, how long do you see his title reign being? Long, but not Roman Reigns long. Spider-Boss says, does all promos of Cody have a reference to his dad? It's almost the same promos he used to do in AEW. A lot of them do, not all of them do. They're trying to re-establish his character because they didn't really get to do that at the off. Dark Society says, will Roman take a break after WrestleMania? Not immediately, but yes. Steve, welcome. Says, from what I heard, sounds like The Weeknd is going to have the official Mania theme song for the 4th year in a row. Do you like his music? I think it's alright. It's alright. King James says, hey Tom, always fun to watch you live. Any news about LA Knight, news for Mania, and keep up the great work. LA Knight is not currently planned to be in a match at WrestleMania, at least on the main card. Sean says, AJ Styles is rated 89 in 2K23 and Rey Mysterio is 82. Many aren't happy about these ratings. To be fair, I'd imagine a lot of people will just be happy to be able to play Rey Mysterio, because if the game came out shortly afterwards, maybe not. Hector says, Cody versus Gunter could be fun. Spider-Boss says, if Cody ever wrestles with Brock, Cody would take a tour to Suplex City. Every single one of them does, let's be fair. Sean says, I say give Edge the US title so he can lose it to Finn at WrestleMania. No plans for that as far as I'm aware. Eric says, Tom, I'm happy Eddie Kingston got his big win. Tristan said, will Bron Breakker or Carmella Hayes or Tony D'Angelo get called up after WrestleMania? One of them, yes. Joey says, I think Randy Orton will be Cody's first feud. He will not. He is not cleared to wrestle. Dad says, I subbed to the guys, Tom. Thank you, Dad. Appreciate that. Eric says, would you consider Theory a top-level heel? Not at this point in time, no, though I do believe he has firmly the potential to do so. Moxie says, Tom, what about Cody versus a heel Drew McIntyre? Not a heel right now, so not someone Cody is going to be competing with after WrestleMania. Chris says, Carmella, I thought, had her best performance in Elimination Chamber. Any thoughts on her and what WWE should do with her? She has just returned, and at the moment, considering the circumstances around her leaving, the WWE have essentially written a bit of a blank check for Carmella. They are not wanting to apply pressure. It's similar to what happened with Keith Lee. She's going to be featured. She's going to be involved. They're not going to put her too far in the spotlight. So I don't think she'll be in the WrestleMania matches, but I think after WrestleMania she may be in a few number one contendership positions, but never actually competing for gold, at least for a little while longer. Oh, no worries, Simon. I'm glad you found Horsey. He's a good guy. And hopefully you enjoy his content. Moxie says maybe Drew turns heel after Mania. Even so, too close for me. Tristan says, who's the front runner to buy WWE? Still waiting on more sources. I will be reporting on that relatively soon, but not in this video. Christoph says, do you think Bray will still have a match at Mania or just be involved with Brock and Bobby? The latter. I think Brock versus Bobby will happen, and Bray Wyatt will be involved in that, or after that. Kelly says, I really hope they put Santos and Ray together as a tag team. I don't think we're going to see that. In fact, I don't think we're going to see much more of Rey Mysterio in WWE. We currently have 109 viewers watching and only 39 likes. That's about a third of our total viewership. So please do remember, when you join the channel, or in fact, if you haven't done it yet, hit that thumbs up button for me. It makes a massive difference to the growth of the channel and the development of the show. The more likes we have, pretty much every time we see a spike in likes, I'm looking at the bar, we see a spike of viewers as well. YouTube advertises the show more based on how many likes we have, which of course increases the chance of me getting new subscribers, getting greater income from ad revenue, and essentially one day going full time. Richard said, didn't Trish Stratus retire when she lost to Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam? She said something to that effect, and yet here she is. Joey said, are they going to do the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at Mania, or are they going to replace it with something else? From what I've heard, from what I'm hearing, they are currently planning each Battle Royal to take place at the pre-shows for each night of WrestleMania. Spider-Boss says, the Mercedes Money news, the return of Bray Wyatt and Ronda going for the women's tag titles, we saw first on Spoiler Warning. Thank you, Spider-Boss, I appreciate that. Yes, that is the case. Ronda going for the tag titles in particular was a fairly recent one. The Bray Wyatt one I was very happy with. I was able to report that a full month ahead of time in a special Wednesday version of Spoiler Warning, where that was the only piece of news. And yeah, Mercedes Money, that news has been all over the place. But I've tried to be as clear as possible. I know there have been some muddy waters. I appreciate you sticking with me through them. Vegeta says Roman should get a rematch versus Cody at Backlash, then head out. I would like that, and honestly, I think that helps Cody as well. Simon, New Japan matches are very different from WWE matches. I still really enjoyed her match with Ronda Rousey, the Hell in a Cell match with Becky, but certainly ranks up there. Yes, Spider-Boss. Pretty much every day someone in creative pitches the idea of getting the way back together. Tristan says, which superstars will be getting the Cinnamon Toast Crunch match at WrestleMania? Bear with me. Bear with me. Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Because when you lock him in the Hurt Lock, he wants to make him crunch. Vegeta says, Judgment Day Mania. There was a show a long time ago where Evolution left with everything. Do that for Judgment Day this year and I'll be a happy bunny. Thomas says, hi Tom, sorry I'm late. Who do you see winning between Edge and Theory? I see it ending in no contest because of Judgment Day. Spider-Boss says, it surprised me to see Carmella in the final two of the Women's Chamber match. So when it comes to that, they needed a heel. Asuka has not been defined as a heel yet, but she is listed as a heel internally. The plan is for her to be the heel against Bianca Belair, but they needed a heel to make sure Asuka was cheered when she won the match. They wanted to make sure Canada left her at least a little bit happy because they knew Sami Zayn wasn't going to win anything. Eric says, what happened to Ray? He was in a backstage segment with Santos? Don't know who you're asking. Harry says, Tom, what's your opinion on WWE's 2K23 roster? I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty in-depth, and there's a lot of my favourites on there. Hassan says, hi there. Hello, Hassan. How are you? Sama says, your thoughts on Okada and Tanahashi teaming up, going after the IWGP Tag Team titles? Okada 2 belts? Possibly. I mean, I like the idea. I don't see it happening necessarily, and I do miss Tanahashi Ibushi as a team. They were... Abby? There was much ab. Thomas Phibbs, thank you kindly for becoming a member of the channel. Another person being so generous, committing to a regular monthly donation. It really does help the growth of the channel. Things like this, the chat rate, likes, memberships, it really does help. And when it comes to the memberships, it guarantees me at least briefly an income, and I can use that income to further grow the channel. So huge thanks, Thomas, as well, for becoming a channel member. Vegeta says, Ray vs Dom retirement or JD breakup match? Yeah, it'd be lovely. Chris says, I'd love to see LA Knight used in a role where he helps Logan Paul beat Seth, only to lead into a feud. That is a lovely idea. Logan Paul, by and large, they trust him to speak on his own, but LA Knight could certainly be involved in that, and that heads into Seth versus LA Knight. I could definitely see LA Knight benefiting largely from being on Raw. I know a lot of people aren't excited by the idea of The Miz versus LA Knight, but I do think it will help really establish him and allow him to speak. Razar says, what are your thoughts on Chelsea Green's run in WWE? Currently, I wasn't familiar with her before, but found her character entertaining, which a lot of the returns haven't been. As long as you have an entertaining character, you will get a push under this regime, and she really does. Spiderbell says, I'd love to see Dominic's sister Aaliyah in WWE again. It'd be nice to see her in the women's division. To my knowledge, she has no wrestling training and is not interested in getting any. Joey says, will the winner get a title shot, or are they just going to get the trophy? Just the trophy at this point in time. The Battle Royals don't really mean anything. Hector says, Tony can't get out of his way. I get he means well, but someone needs to be in his ear with some better advice. I feel like it's just like with Vince, where regardless of what others want to do, he will do what he wants regardless. He is in charge, and ultimately he can do what he wants regardless. But more on that shortly. Michael says, Bianca needs to turn heel. I do not see that one happening, though if it does happen, it'll be after she loses the championship. Eric says, hey Tom, hope your day was great. What's the Mania plan for Gunter? For a while now I've been talking about Gunter versus McIntyre. I heavily disputed the Gunter versus Brock Lesnar concept that was going around. Certainly at this point in time, after the Royal Rumble, it strongly suggests that Sheamus will be involved. I'd be very happy with that triple threat. Chris says, any chance we see DIY back together? Yes. So there is a lot of confusion right now with Tommaso Ciampa. The pairing with The Miz hasn't really worked. So while he's cleared and ready for action, they are rethinking creatively what to do with him. Bronson Reed has essentially replaced him. They think that pairing will work a little bit better, with him being the heavy that Ciampa wasn't able to really present himself as. DIY and FTR in a the Revival in a feud is a very strong possibility this year. FDR with the tables. He's getting the tables. Everything could be on the table. Christoph says, any news on Alexa by all means? I know you've said she asked for a break, but the tweet she posted Saturday night was kind of troubling. She did ask for a break. She's waiting for some communication in order to establish what comes next with the WWE. She's certainly not particularly out of character doing so. But yeah, she's just trying to rile people up a little bit and doing a very successful job of it. She's, from what I've been told, I want to be clear on that one, she's stopped caring so much about what the fans think, and the truth will set you free. What can I say? Simon says, do you see Piper Niven and Bronson Reed as possible Battle Royal winners at Mania 39 pre-shows? Everything will be on the table. Alyssa says, people know Sami Zayn was taking a back seat when Cody Rhodes was hurt. Not sure on that one. JJ says, do WWE still have faith in Ronda? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. They firmly believe she is one of the biggest stars in the company, because she is. Moxie says, Tom versus Finn, winner gets Finn's abs. I will fight him. I will do whatever it takes. I will work my... I'll probably still lose, but I will try. There is no one more jealous than me. Trust me. And I've got a decent core. I'm proud of my core, but I do not have that core. Oh, it'd be super effective on everyone. Jay Big says, when does Priest start working main event scene? I think he has a talent to do so. I agree, however, I do not think we will see it this year. Razar says, I could see the Battle Royals being the sponsored Cinnamon Toast Crunch match if they do it. I'd like it, because you could put like tables on the outside, and then whenever someone gets eliminated, it could crunch. But Brock, though. Tristan says, do you think MJF will let his AEW contract run until January 2024? At least then, because at that point he'll just sign a new one. Chris says, do we see Solo turning on Roman at Mania? Personally, I don't, but I do believe that by WrestleMania, the Bloodline will be hanging by a thread, only to fall apart completely once Roman essentially vanishes. I see, much like Evolution's collapse, the Bloodline collapsing with everyone going their separate ways. Spiderball says, do you think that the Judgment Day could break up after Mania 39? Nope, I believe they are staying together and moving to SmackDown. Thanks, Thomas, mate. Appreciate it. Noob says, Tanahashi and Ibushi are pumping iron because Japan, you know that they're anime. Yes. And yes. Yes. Eric says, completely off topic, but you were Falling in Reverse fan. I enjoy some of their songs. Popular Monster's quite fun. Will says, do you see... I'm not really sure what that word is. Turning Asuka heel at WrestleMania versus Bianca like spitting green mist at her to win the title. I'm not sure, but I'm confident that Asuka and Bianca will be worked with. Bianca as the good guy. Tristan said, is Tama Tonga going to WWE? You haven't heard anything on this one? Not a clue. Sean's asking my thoughts on the Kyrie Mercedes match. Very good match, very high quality. They know each other really well. They know what they're doing. And when they're in a ring together, they know how to make magic. Simon says, do you possibly see Mercedes and Okada possibly teaming up in a mixed tag match? Not much, no. Not much at all. Mixed tag matches don't really happen in New Japan. Thomas says, think they might have Edge beating Theory, thus setting up Cena versus Theory and Edge versus Balor for the US title. I still think Cena versus Theory will be for the US title. Pardon me. It depends whether or not you think John Cena's winning. I do not. Go says, is the OC currently not being used due to AJ's injury, or are there scheduling issues? It's entirely based on AJ's injury. The OC are available. There's just they're there as AJ's backup, and if AJ isn't involved, they basically just sit in the background. Pure English Football says, did you ever read Power Slam magazine? I did not. I had a couple of WWE magazines growing up and a couple of like yearbooks, and you know those big annuals you get, which are like, there's this wrestler and here's a fun fact about them. Had a couple of them as well. Chris says, I say do a 4-way for the IC title at Mania with Gunter, Sheamus, Drew and Bronson Reed, with Bronson beating Drew to win. Interesting. I think there's a lot of really good options. My concern is right now, Braun Strowman doesn't have a WrestleMania match, so I think they might try and squeeze him in. I wouldn't necessarily like to see that. Vegeta says, Sami and KO as tag champs versus DIY versus The Revival at SummerSlam, the greatest triple threat tag ever. I don't think that's impossible. Just saying. Spider-Boss says, I'd love to wrestle with Rhea Ripley just for fun. I want to see Rhea Ripley versus Drew McIntyre. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They would have an amazing match. Hector says, okay, Tom, out of curiosity, why did they have Jay White compete in back-to-back Loser Leaves New Japan matches? Did they not know whether or not he was re-signing? But the first match was not Loser Leaves New Japan. The first match was Loser Leaves Japan, the country. Which is why he was able to have the second match, which was a Loser Leaves New Japan match. Little tiny difference there. Harry says, hi Tom, do you see Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis reuniting? Yes. As Vegeta says, they already have. Joey says, if Sami and KO win the tag titles, are there big feuds planned for them with other teams? Yes, though there aren't too many other teams right now who can step into that spot, especially as heels. I suspect we're going to see them against the Viking Raiders quite early on. Keith Sean says, when the Street Profits break up, who do you believe will turn on the other? See, I've gone back and forth on this one. Angelo Dawkins was being considered the Marty Jannetty of the group, but he heard them saying that at some point and stepped up his game considerably. So there's a strong belief in Angelo Dawkins right now as well, and not just Montez Ford. Personally, when it comes to Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, I think Montez Ford would make the better heel, because he could continue to play everything up and be obnoxious about it, much like Sami Zayn did when he turned heel way back when Bayley did when she turned heel. I can really see that working. Also, that then gives us a number of different possibilities. Montez Ford versus Seth Rollins, which is something we've seen quite a bit, but not in a long-term feud. But also Montez Ford versus AJ Styles, for example, which is exciting. And Montez Ford versus Cody Rhodes. That could be a Raw Mania, a Raw main event without being particularly obnoxious. Chris says, is Matt Cardona post-Mania return? There's a number of different reports about this, suggesting that he is. However, there's also been a number of reports that he's going to be at the Royal Rumble, a number of reports that he's been there for weeks. They do tend to be a lot less likely to pull the trigger immediately, so he could well be there. However, at this point in time, I'm not aware of anything being signed. Christoph says, not surprised Alexa feels a bit annoyed regarding how some little idiots treated her so unfairly, but I'm one of the fans who care about her for real, so thanks, Tom. I would not be at all confused if she decided to up and shut down Twitter. People are dicks. Moxie says, Tom, when do you see Roman versus Jey happening after WrestleMania, if it happens at all? Hector says, Tom, Braun can always call up his good buddy Nicholas. He's probably free. No. School. Jay says, what are the plans for Corbin? I've always liked him. I would like to see him return to a lone wolf similar gimmick. My suspicion is that we will see Baron Corbin joining the Hurt Business in some way, sort of protecting him and insulating him. Also, MVP's looking at a couple of different wrestlers as options to join the group at the moment. He wants it reborn. He wants it slightly bigger. And Baron Corbin's someone he's interested in working with. Sports Editor says, are we going to get another triple threat WrestleMania main event? Nope. Also, I will appreciate the love from Bangladesh and send some love right back at you. Razar says, I thought Ronda looked really good in the tag match on Friday. I agree. I'm excited for the team with her and Shayna. It could be good for the tag division. She sold more than she usually did, and I liked that. Chris says, would Jay White and the OC not make sense? Absolutely it would. Jay White has some automatic easy feuds upon arriving in WWE if he does. AJ Styles is right there to wrestle control of the OC. Finn Balor is right there. Imagine Jay White taking over Judgment Day. That would also really work for me. Cody Rhodes is right there. And then, of course, you've got the people like Seth Rollins. Right there. With history, if you're familiar with it. Tristan says, will Cody bring the Winged Eagle belt back? Nope. Thomas says, I just think that if it's Theory versus Cena for the belt, it's more predictable than Edge versus Balor for the title. If you mean predictable, as in everyone in this room seems to believe that John Cena will be winning, and I don't, then I wouldn't necessarily say predictable. Chris would love to see Ronda and Shayna versus Beth and Natty. If they win the tag team championships, or even if they don't, I definitely want to see them having a prolonged championship run and wrestling every other week. It's Ronda Rousey. They'll find something for her. And they are building pretty heavily the tag division in the women's side at the moment. There is a lot of women who don't really have any sort of plan or structure at the moment. And yeah, we don't want random women being thrown together and be like, you're a tag team now. But also, how else do you build a division? The Star says, Bianca versus Asuka, when are they fighting? WrestleMania. Spider-Boss says, did Edge and Beth Phoenix using FTR's finishing move was a hint to FTR coming back, right? It was a hint and a throwback to FTR. However, if they were coming back, would Edge and Beth Phoenix know? Yeah, probably. Sean says, speaking of Bayley, do you ever think she'll be a babyface again? Forever is a very long time. Everything is on the table. Hector says, all I want in life is to find a friend as supportive as Bayley is for Mercedes. It's so genuine, especially Mercedes doing the Bayley to belly. It is incredibly genuine. Just a touch on that. I've seen several people, particularly on Twitter, stating that Bayley is going to be massively in trouble for this. She's not. She's absolutely not. She communicated with the WWE that she wanted to go. The WWE were like, have fun. That's it. Sometimes there is smoke without fire. Mostly because a lot of people are blowing hot air at all times. Thomas says, if Jay White does come to WWE, who do you see his first feud being against? Seth Rollins in every possible way. Ricky Fawn says, hi Tom Colohue. Hi Ricky. Do you see Roman staying after Mania and staying as heel or coming back as a face? I see him being a heel. However, he has used a lot of his yearly dates already, so he'll definitely be taking some time off. Big shows like SummerSlam, he will be back for. Harry says, Tom, what's your favourite wrestler? Triple H has been for a very long time. Wrestlers currently wrestling, it's Jay White. The guy's just... he's just the worst. You know? You know, he's just the worst. Anyway. Chris says, do you see... Chris Leclerc, to be clear, because we've got two Chris in it. Do you see Dakota Kai and Io Sky turning on Bayley in the future? Everything is on the table. Future's a very long time. Moxie says, imagine Montez versus AJ versus Seth Free, the best in the world. Spider-Boss says, who is the real leader of Judgment Day, Finn or Rhea? Finn. Rhea just comes out in the middle for balance. Hector says, KO and Sami could always feud with AOP if they indeed come back. Could be a good way to get AOP back involved from the start, help introduce them better than they did the first time. Yes, but it would be a losing effort. And because it's a losing effort, I don't necessarily see it myself. And Moxie said Jay White versus Nakamura would certainly get Nakamura back in the fighting structure as well. Sean says, I have a feeling AOP will come back tonight during Dolph versus Ali. Could be a lot of fun. But there'd be no plans for them at WrestleMania because there's only going to be one tag match at WrestleMania. So it'd be a wasted moment. Thomas says, what about Montez Ford versus Jay White? I'd love it. That's all I'm saying. Simon says, do you see Sonya Deville as a future women's champion? Yes, always have. She has got it. I don't know what it is, but she has got it, and she's got it in abundance. Tommy says, if WWE signs Jay White then Omega, then WWE would be in for a huge 2023 and so many money matches. Yep, absolutely. No question. Simon says, do you see Johnny Gargano as a future world champion? Under Triple H, yes. Depending on who buys the company, maybe not. Andy Barr says, can the Street Profits just break up and both still be faces? Yes, all I've got to do is go in a ring and say, you know what? I've had a great time together. I'd like to see what I can do on my own. Why don't we see that more often? Eric says he can't go back to the lone wolf. This is Baron Corbin because he can't grow his hair back. Jay says still hoping they give Becky and Bayley stipulation, preferably last woman standing. Becky has history of that, so absolutely a possibility. Carlos says Jay White will replace Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy. Just kidding. I've seen people suggesting that he already is Uncle Howdy on social media. It's wrong, but they're suggesting it. Spider-Boss says Roman throwing a kiss to Sami before their match was fun. It's romantic. It's romantic. And Spider-Boss says, do you think that WWE hasn't pulled the trigger on Sonya because she's gay? No. She was going to be a SmackDown Women's Champion already. There was a storyline for that involved Mandy Rose going bald. It actually didn't. It involved Sonya Deville going bald and then Mandy Rose winning the championship. And then Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose at WrestleMania was being talked about but not confirmed. So we missed out on some really good stuff for Sonya Deville because of one fucking idiot. Simon says, what do you think was the most insane spot of Battle in the Valley and Chamber? Well, there was some quite good stuff in the Chambers. I'm not going to pick out one particular moment. There's just a lot happening. So I'm not sure. Andy Barr says Corbin can join Wyatt 6. He absolutely cannot. He does not belong in that group. Joey says, is Bray still going to have a match with Uncle Howdy? Let me just catch up. With Uncle Howdy, or are they a team now? They're a team now. They are teams. Andy Moy, welcome, mate. Been a little while. Says, Tom, don't you dare tease me with Jay White leading Judgment Day. Everything they've been involved with recently is gold. Only a couple of weeks ago, people were saying that Judgment Day was sunk and never won anything. And yet now here we are. Sports Editor says, Brock versus Bray, who's going to win? Your comment about that. My comment is quite simple. Bobby, for me, will be winning against Brock. If we then move on to Bobby versus Bray, moot point. But if it is Brock versus Bray, Bray will win. Bray will win. They've been trying since 2016 to make this match happen. And, from what I can tell, Brock's real excited, which is rare. Christoph says, seems to be like Matt Cardona is more interested on returning to WWE than WWE is actually interested in signing him back. Harsh, mate. Harsh. Simon says, Bayley and Naomi Tamina were all in the crowd and backstage in photos of Mercedes for her world title win. Yeah. Thomas says, I think if the belt is on the line, then Theory wins, but if it isn't, then Cena might win. Chris Parrish says, if by chance Dom versus Ray doesn't happen at Mania, why not Judgment Day help Dom win and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? I would like that. I think Dominic is well worth it, well deserving of it. He's been doing great work recently, and the crowd hate him, which, as you know, I like. Mr. Stumble says, what does WWE do with Jey Uso for Mania? It'll be a tag team championship match with Jimmy against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. If you'd prefer that, Perish it is. Perish the fall. Jay says, after WrestleMania, do you see them continuing Becky versus Bayley? Nope. I see them being on separate brands. Simon says, what is Naomi's WWE status at the moment, Tom? 0. There is no status whatsoever. Vegeta says, build AOP as well. True. Oh, thank you, Perish. Yes. There'll be 2 tag matches, 1 men's, 1 women's, both for the championships. What I meant was both titles will be defended. There will be only 1 men's tag team championship match. That's what I was meaning. Thank you for the clarification. Simon says, who do you think Adam Cole's AEW Revolution opponent will be? I'm honestly not sure. I don't have the connections in AEW, so anything I say would be an absolute guess. Ricky says, any news on The Fiend maybe coming back? The Fiend will not be coming back as Bray Wyatt. I'll leave that there. Tristan says, will Bray Wyatt be DLC in 2K23? Yes, he will, if he's not in the original game when it launches as the Day 1 patch. B-School Nick, welcome, mate. Says, do you think we'll ever see Uncle Howdy with a singles run or just wasting Podar's talent like this? He will not get a singles run. He will always be tied directly into Bray Wyatt. I don't think he'll unmask for a while either. Perry says, should WWE consider a tag team Money in the Bank match? No plans at the moment, though there is debate as to whether or not the briefcase can be used for tag team titles. It's happened like that in other promotions, but I've not seen that in WWE. Christoph says, I see you're a true Jay White addict. Battle in the Valley was the first time I saw him in action. Maybe I did not pick the right match. Jay White has done great work, particularly in the pandemic when the fans weren't allowed to cheer, and he would sit there on the mat with a microphone saying, go on, cheer him. Cheer him. Cheer the guy. Cheer him. You don't really care about him. Oh, I love this guy. Love him. Jay Big says, would almost be in the Hurt Business. He is still in the Hurt Business at current, so yes. Sean says, do you think when John Cena returns on March 6th, he challenges Theory? Yes, I do. Hector says, I'm so ready for the next Ray Dom exclusive, especially with Easter on the horizon. Just imagine if they got Damian Priest to dress up as an Easter bunny that antagonizes Ray. That's a collection of things. Sean says, I've been seeing speculation on what Tony Khan's announcement will be. Yep, that will happen because they dropped below 1 million viewership on Dynamite, so he starts talking about massive announcements again. Joseph Bellotti says, do you see Roman Reigns holding the belt for 1,000 days or have him lose to Cody since he's on a part-time schedule? I see him losing to Cody. I don't see it being because of a part-time schedule. I just see him losing to Cody. Eric Douglas says, my favourite spot was Ford from the very top of the chamber. The John Morrison spot. Lovely stuff. Daniel. So that brings us to Ariel Helwani. Daniel's just brought me straight back to it. Ariel Helwani has upset some people in WWE, according to sources within the back office production side, with his comment making an accusation against Tony Khan, particularly a term which is used in association with cocaine addicts. Now, that particular association with the WWE may well be at risk because of this. Ariel Helwani has admitted openly that he was paid by the WWE to appear at WWE Elimination Chamber and at SmackDown, and essentially was paid to be a performer. Now, I did mention that this was the case. He is the new Sam Roberts, and he'll be filling that role for the company, while Sam Roberts is not involved at this point in time. Now, at least for the last 2 shows, that was the plan. He may be making an appearance at WrestleMania. However, Tony Khan has not taken the comments lying down. He's not particularly happy with what was said, and there is a potential for litigation. Now, the WWE, if questioned on this particular point, will disavow Ariel Helwani. That is based on previous action that they have taken. So Ariel Helwani may want to think very carefully about his next steps. Tony Khan has been known to say things on Twitter which outrage WWE and AEW fans, and there are quite a few people who have the opinion that maybe he should talk less. However, what Ariel Helwani said did cross a line into potential libel. So, debatable as to whether or not it was the right move or a smart move, but certainly it was a move. Moxie says, I hate how the SmackDown and Raw Tag Team Championships look. They look like big quarters. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Spider-Boss says, in a recent interview, Mercedes talked about never say never about a possible return, to WWE. Of course she said that. Why would you close that door? Andy Moy says, what were your thoughts on the Chamber? For me, first time in a long time, I was legit marking out. I thought both of them were good, though the men's did trump it a little bit. Christian says, I've been wondering, did WWE scrap the draft or do you think it's still coming post-Mania? I believe it is still coming post-Mania. Venom says, good to see Brock is in some feuds about the titles, and long may it continue. He can really help people get over, and the reception that that Bobby was getting is really telling of what he's been able to achieve. Parrish says, WWE has been linked with new title designs. Is this true or any news to this? They've been linked with those new title designs for the last 17 months. We're going to have them, or... Harry says, Tom, what is your favourite Undertaker moment? Mine is Undertaker ending HBK's career at WrestleMania 26. Mine is when he tried to embalm Stone Cold Steve Austin alive. Because what the hell am I watching? Ricky says, I like to see the happy Brock and not a serious Brock. Perry says, today in Canada is family day. Why not do something with Ray and Dom since they are in Canada? And to be fair, why not? Let's pop one of those exclusives up. Let's have some interruptions. Let's just go nuts on it. Let's be crazy. Mr. Stumble says, are you going to do a video explaining Seth Rollins' gimmick? I don't necessarily think the Seth Rollins' gimmick needs explaining. Personally. He's just sort of having a great time. He's a man who stopped caring. And I love that for him. It works. Sai says, Helwani has really let himself down here. You can't throw that word around without any foundation. If there's anything to it, then it's not his business to tell the world. It may come to a point where he has to prove his point here. And that is probably the main reason that we haven't seen any litigation so far. Simon says, where do you see Naomi/Trinity wrestling next? The question you have to ask first is, do you see Naomi/Trinity wrestling next? Perry says, if Tony Khan wanted to talk less, then I suggest another Helwani interview, which is a very fair comment. Mr. Stumble says, is it hypocritical for Ariel Helwani being paid by WWE as a reporter when he criticised Paddy the Baddy for taking paid interviews? Much like John Cena eventually changed his mind about The Rock going to Hollywood, people can change their opinion. So it may not be hypocritical anymore, though it will have been at that time. Joseph Bellotti says, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, But is this the first time Reigns and Rhodes go one-on-one? Which night should headline WrestleMania? I don't know what you mean by which night should headline WrestleMania. Night 2 headlines WrestleMania. The main event of WrestleMania is the Night 2 main event. The Night 1 main event is not a main event of WrestleMania. Just to be clear on that one. They will main event Night 2. That's always been the plan. As regards Reigns and Rhodes, one-on-one, I believe they've gone one-on-one before in the build to the tag team feud between them and Seth Rollins and, of course, Dusty Rhodes. Not Dusty Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes. Goldust. Christoph says, personally, I find the social media beef between Tony Khan and Helwani childish and unnecessary. Here's the thing. Right now, wrestling journalism is in a very, very awkward and difficult spot for everyone involved, because a lot of wrestling journalists are playing being gossip columnists. A lot of wrestling journalists are trying to ingratiate themselves with certain companies. A lot of wrestling journalists are actively jumping into wrestling situations or cutting promos like they have gimmicks. It's very, very confusing. What we need is people to just sort of settle down and focus on the news. Ariel Helwani was that guy. There's now a feud going on. It's very, very wrestling. And that's a little confusing because I would like my wrestling here and my news here, personally. The news should be as close to impartial as possible. That's how I see things anyway. You guys know how I see this. I believe in public interest. Only report things that are in the public interest. And if you're working for a company, your public interest is skewed. It's all a thing. Rob says, Helwani stated on his The MMA Hour, while speaking on the subject this afternoon, he currently isn't under any deals moving forward for WWE, but would be open to doing more work for AEW, WWE, TNA, NWA. Yep. Perry says, for some mania going back to Roman numerals. I like it. I think it's cool. It brings me back to my childhood when it was all Roman numerals. I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. Spider-Boss says, I love these segments of Rey Mysterio with Dominic and Rhea. Hector says, I think if Roman does take time off after his Mania match, I'd love to see him go on a historic run with the US title or a very long one. It could be a great way to keep him involved. Not a bad shout. Certainly would help elevate the championship as well. Moxie says, Tom Roman had Seth Rollins' hair at Elimination Chamber. Did he? Sean says, WrestleMania said WWE higher-ups wanted Sami Zayn to defeat Roman. To my knowledge, WrestleMania does not report exclusive news. Sean, I'm going to need a source on that one. Spider-Boss says, I remember the heat that Ariel Helwani got to give his opinion about his interview with Mercedes Money, Sasha Banks. Sean says, is it true Brock went off scripted Elimination Chamber? Yes, the F5 on the referee was not planned. Rob says Helwani was very open on the entire subject in that show, going into detail and also stating he does not and never has considered himself a wrestling journalist. He is simply a wrestling fan. Pure English says, what time... Pure English Football, just wanted to clarify that, says, what time are you on to? Until I have no news and no questions left. So there is still a bit in the news section. There's not much, to be honest. There's one discussion left, and then there's a bit talking about the news that's been coming out recently. So over the last few days, I'm looking at what's happened in the wrestling world, what's been reported. I'm using the Cage Side Seats wrestling rumor roundups, and just looking at them, examining them based on the news we know now, and what I know about the subject, just as sort of prompts. After the Royal Rumble, I did like a proper fake news jumping in, like this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong, but also this was right, this was right, this was right. Because, you know, if they're right, they're right, and we should say the good things with the bad things. And it was pretty well received, so we'll see how it goes this time. Brad2023 says hi. Hi, Brad. Also says, what will they do with Jey Uso for Mania? He'll be wrestling with Jimmy against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Perry says, with gimmick PLEs reportedly being taken away or potentially scrapped, what ones do you see taking its place if true? I think largely there will be less pay-per-views, but also there's going to be a lot more international ones. So the UK getting Money in the Bank is probably the last Money in the Bank exclusive pay-per-view, as it were, but it's a big deal for the UK. Saudi Arabia will still get 2 shows, and the plan is to go between 8 and 10 per year, depending on special events. So the UK will get 1. They want to go back to Australia. They're trying at current to negotiate a pay-per-view in Canada. Not Canada. Canada, yes. They're trying to do 1 in Canada a year as well. China as well, they're looking at 1 there. So there's 4 immediately. 2 then when you consider Saudi Arabia and the big 4. some of which will likely be in those places. So they are trying to branch out and cover a lot of bases. There is a lot of time and effort being put into China right now for the WWE. Moxie says, Tom Colohue versus... No. Spider-Boss says, I think Brock is one of the very few in WWE that can go off script and doesn't get any backlash. Yes, he is entirely trusted to do whatever the hell he wants, because whatever he does tends to work out pretty well. Thank you, Sean, for sourcing. WrestleMania got that news from Dave Meltzer. Spider-Boss says, I hope Latin America gets a WWE pay-per-view in the near future. Likely so. It depends how they play it. Mexico certainly is a possibility, though they may go further south to see how big they can make it. Ooh, okay, a lot of questions in. I'm trying to catch up. Rob says, by the way, hey Tom, and love the onesie. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that, mate. Mr. Stumble says, are WWE's referees employees or contractors? Independent contractors. Alyssa says, when do you see a face-to-face Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes? Very soon, if not by the end of this week. Harry says, any news about Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania? Yes, looking like it's going to happen. Dimitar says, hey Tom, hello mate. Long time no see, how's it going? Going very well, sir. Welcome to the show. Simon says, who would you like to see Mercedes Money face on her world tour? Basically everybody. Rosemary. Very much Rosemary. Kieran says, I hope we don't go to NXT style pay-per-views one every 3 months or so. No plan for that now. Parrish says, any progress on WWE doing an actual Hall of Fame or real life warehouse to go visit? I tried asking at the Rumble, was given a shady answer. Well, it was well worth asking. When it comes to the shady answers, they tend to suggest that something might actually be happening, because otherwise, Triple H in particular is a big fan of a flat no. Big fan of a flat no. So certainly I think it's a possibility, but when it comes to a real life Hall of Fame, they're not sure where to host it. The idea is, as part of the continentalization, that's the term they're using, we may see a few WWE museums, as it were, popping up. As they're going to call it a live interactive experience or something like that. You know they are. Spider-Boss wants to see a partnership between WWE and New Japan. There is one, it's just not one in which New Japan really get much benefit. Pure English Football says, thoughts on Wrestling Bio's YouTuber, think it's quite good. I've not seen much of Wrestling Bio's work, but I know there's a good groundswell of support, which usually is a good sign. Thomas says, so Tom, how's your excitement level on the potential debut of Jay White in WWE? Personally for me, this is the most I've been excited, as I've been asking for this since I joined your streams. I'm refusing to get overexcited in case it doesn't happen. Parrish says Clash of the Castle should be every year. There'll be a WWE UK pay-per-view every single year, but it won't always be Clash of the Castle. Steve says, Helwani is just saying what we're all thinking. I'm not thinking to call anyone a cocaine addict, personally. Daniel says Tony Khan showed real naivety sending that text. He's supposed to be a boss. The Ariel Helwani interview he had, he should put it down to experience. Simon says, are you enjoying Paige and Tony Storm's heel run in AEW? I think it's great. I think it's okay. I've not watched much AEW because of the time of day it's on. So I've not really focused too much on it, but I'm not hating it. Nelson says, what about a pay-per-view on Japan? They will not encroach in New Japan's territory at the moment. Perry says, what's more likely, a Mania in Canada, Mexico, UK or Japan? The most likely is Canada. That is the most likely of the four listed there, but they are unlikely to be in any of those. You know the deal says, do you see a Mania taking place in Canada anytime soon? No. Venom says, Raw watch along tonight, Tom? No. Perry says, I'm doing one, come join us. Tom, I'm not watching Raw live. That I can't do that. It would finish at 4 in the morning, and I have work at 8 in the morning. I can't do it. Once I'm full-time, we'll be doing it all the time. And to be honest, Chris, I'd probably join you. But at the moment, it's just not happening. Simon says, Simon, when it comes to Mercedes Money, she'll get what she's given, and she'll have a great time. She's not a main eventer in New Japan. Mr. Stumble says, if WWE can get a China show, I think big tech companies will be interested in purchasing WWE to get their foot in the door of their politics. Kieran says, hopefully Money's first up on a tour is Jamie Hayter. Simon says, is Tyson Fury appearing at Money in the Bank? Yeah. Thomas says, feel like we need to do a long-term fantasy booking of Jay White via our Discord chat. Quite possibly so. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Hector says, Tom, this isn't really a wrestling question, but I'm considering streaming on Twitch for gaming soon. Wanted your advice. Are there any particular peak days, if you will, or days that would be beneficial to stream? Thanks for any tips or advice. Yes, there are, and there's a couple of resources I can give you, which basically lay out, here's how many channels are live at this point in time. Here's how many viewers are live at this point in time. Really quite helpful if you want to pick a moment with no competition. However, because of the raid system, and this is true of YouTube as well, because of the raid system, if you're able to pick a moment in which you're there when someone else bigger finishes and make yourself available that way, and then you're there when someone else starts, and you can offer raids and so on and so forth. Don't be too consistent, because the best way to grow on Twitch is raids. Now, if you're going YouTube, I have much different advice, but on YouTube, you're going to grow, whereas on Twitch, you are not going to grow. Spiderball says, do you see WrestleMania take place in the UK? No. Sean says, I believe Roxanne and Mako are going to have a great match of Stand and Deliver. And Moxie says, Tom, what if you beat Brock Gun? No, I'm not wrestling anyone. Moxie says, Tom, do you still do squat? I very briefly did 10 squats for every subscribe on Twitch. Very beneficial. I mean, I had over 100 subscribers at one point, which is a record. I currently have 9. So maybe one day. But as I've got that particular topic going, if you've not yet done so, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. We currently have 2,150 free subscribers, and we are continuing to grow. We are aiming for 5,000 by year end, and we are still very much on track for that. Also, if you've not yet done so, please hit the like button. Every thumbs up makes a massive difference. You did have to try, Parrish, you did. Thomas says, looking back on our Will Ospreay one, we could do great things together with the Jay White one. It would be fun. Venom says, do you think we see KO and Sami hug tonight? Nope. Christoph says, it feels weird to me seeing Sasha become Mercedes of another company, but to be fair, I can't remember the last time I saw her. So happy. Tristan says, will WWE bring back cool, awesome, unique pay-per-view sets? They won't bring back the same ones. At the moment, they're pretty happy with what they've got. Perry says, any word on what non-WWE wrestling talent perception is about WWE now, opposed from a year ago? Much higher. A year ago, independent wrestlers that I speak to were much more interested in going to AEW. There was also a much clearer path because of Dark. They were reaching out to everybody to appear on Dark and have a few tryouts, and I knew a lot of people who were excited to get that opportunity. Right now, under Triple H, interest has dried up in AEW, and interest in WWE is very much stronger. Spider-Boss hopes Bayley wins at WrestleMania 39. Harry's asking for news on Bron Breakker. At the moment, there isn't any. As I say, lots of call-ups have been cancelled, and this is no different. Kieran says, YouTube still needs a better live streaming side of the site. Can't really scroll through or look at a whole section game by game. That is not true. That is not true. And in fact, you can have a gaming live stream. You allocate the game. I was doing this and testing it during the Last of Us playthrough, Last of Us Part 2. You can allocate the game. So if you click on that allocation, it'll pop up with a list of everyone currently live playing that game. There are ways to do it. And in fact, I know a lot of people say that's like the only big win that Twitch is having right now. But also, is it? Is it? Perry says, KO and Sami don't need to reunite right away. Once they do, it's off to the races. The build here should be that reunion, not the tag match, in my opinion. And I completely agree with that. Completely agree. For me, Kevin Owens is not trustworthy. Not trustworthy. So they'll need to win trust back. Yes, Brad, I believe Rhea Ripley will win at WrestleMania. And Moxie says, Tom, what's your favourite sock colour? I'm wearing black socks. I'm a man of darkness. There have been times I've been called a Prince of Darkness. I will absolutely take it. I had one more thing to talk about. It's a very brief thing, but it's as regards the Fightful Select report that Triple H was bringing back talent, not necessarily for main event picture, but to work and fill out lower down the card. Now, about 3 weeks ago, I did report this here on this channel in spoiler warning, and did mention that there was no one that Triple H hated or was particularly disappointed by. I've referred to that a few times over the last weeks. I have already reported this and will confirm what Fightful is saying here. Triple H was looking at the rosters and he was unhappy with the amount of people available to him. His plan, really quite simple, was to pad the roster out, which allows more rotation between wrestlers. You wouldn't be seeing the same people every week, and it means that people like Alexa Bliss, for example, can take a couple of weeks off without being missed on TV. It also means Roman Reigns, for example, can take some time off without being missed too heavily, though it's Roman Reigns, so I imagine he would be missed. There is no disappointment with people like Karrion Kross. This is how he's been booked. They're happy with it. There is no disappointment with Lacey Evans, as has been mentioned as well. He is Triple H is trying to recreate some wrestlers and some characters because they're not working. There is no point continuing with something that is easily and obviously not working. A lot of people who believe Triple H is disappointed are too used to Vince McMahon creating a character and then thinking that it's going to work for the next 20 years. You're not all going to be The Undertaker, and that's okay. Spider-Boss says, fans on social media believe that Charlotte shaded Becky in her recent interview. Fans on social media are not trustworthy when it comes to Charlotte Flair. Simon says, when's NXT Europe starting? Still in the process. William Regal has only just got to WWE. Give him time. Venom says, bit surprised Edge and Beth won at the Chamber. Me too. Tristan says, FTR returning to WWE. Maybe. I've spoken about this quite a bit. So you know most of what I've said already. But FTR at the moment, very unhappy with AEW and with Tony Khan. They want more, and Triple H can give it to them. Perry says, would a six-man between KO, Sami and Cody versus Usos and Roman be the most logical match on the final show before Mania weekend? Yes. I do believe that's exactly what we're going to see. I genuinely do. They won't be like a full line in the sand. Sami will never work with them again. But I do think that makes the perfect sense as they go home and as the final match, as it were, on the final SmackDown. Thomas says, did you see Fightful are only now reporting about AOP when you reported it after SummerSlam? Yes, and I'm very grateful to have the confirmation. As I said earlier, I don't want to jump down anyone's throat on this one. I report what I report. I'm happy with what I report. And ultimately, it's nice every now and then to have someone else confirming it. Now, the only people who know that's a confirmation are here. And I'm okay with that. You're the people here, so you're the people I care about. Moxie says, Tom, how tall are you? 5'10". Same height as Charlotte. Same height as Charlotte. Perry says, is Lacey Evans right now everyone's true American nightmare? They keep focusing on the Marine thing. I don't understand how they've got it wrong. Like, she's a Marine. That's all you need. Give us a proper feud with Liv Morgan now. Just get it over with. Brad says, if Brock and Lashley are on Raw, will Bray be on Raw? No. Perry says, with Charlotte coming back, it seems it prevented Raquel's push. Does she get one? It seems like she's losing momentum. I strongly suspect Raquel and Liv will be a tag team going into WrestleMania against Damage Control and Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. There'll still be a push. It won't be a championship push. Thomas says, imagine a tag match of DIY versus FTR versus Usos versus Sami and Kevin. Christoph says, I really like how Triple H is doing the conduct of Raw and SmackDown. Also, it's not every week the same people on the main event. That's a good thing. Simon says, recommend Zack Sabre Jr. matches in New Japan. The G1 Climax match with Tetsuya Naito. Check it out. It's amazing. Michael says, watch some Stardom because, well, obvious reasons, but damn, that's pro wrestling at its finest. I'm so glad that people are discovering New Japan and Stardom right now. I've been watching it since 2017. It's amazing. Wait for the G1. You just wait for that G1. Spider-Boss says, Lacey was doing well as a sassy Southern Belle. Why did WWE change the gimmick? Because they didn't think she was doing well enough. And Perry says, it's funny that Cena can act like a Marine better than Lacey Evans. So can The Miz, apparently. Dom says, what's up, Tom and chat? Don't forget to hit the like button or we have 3 words for you. Yes, I'm late. A bit late, Dom, but that's okay. That's okay. Parrish points out 8 likes away from 69. Nice. It is nice. We have 80 viewers right now. Only the 61 likes. If you're able to, please hit that thumbs up. It does guarantee growth in the channel, more viewers, and more potential subscribers, because the more people find this channel, the closer I get to being full time. So please do consider, if you haven't already, hitting that subscribe button. Makes a big difference. Simon says, I think New Japan have really great looking belts, and they do. Venom says, do you think Raquel wins a women's title anytime soon? No. And Brad said, is Edge winning the US title tonight? I don't think so, no. Alyssa says, is Cody Rhodes going to show up on SmackDown this week? Maybe, but he will be on both shows for a while. Moxie said, Dominic versus Roman, who do you think gets cheered? Roman. Hector says, Tom, how has The Last of Us been? I've decided to wait till all the episodes have been released and just binge the whole season. You're going to cry, okay? Just be ready. You're going to cry. I am one of the biggest fans of the game you'll ever experience. I believe it is a perfect piece of media. I believe it's the greatest piece of media I've ever encountered. That's based on my perspective of that game. The TV show is different, but it is great. And in some cases, it's better. Give it a shot. Once it's all out, give it a shot. Spider-Boss says, did Judgment Day get involved in Edge versus Theory? Probably. I don't have a rundown sheet, guys. I don't know what's going to happen on Raw tonight. Thomas says, do you think we see the story of Jey develop further tonight or on SmackDown? Yes. Venom says, Edge becomes Grand Slam champ if he gets the US title. He's never been the US champion. And I don't think he's going to be. Right, so, last thing I wanted to cover, I will get back to the chat and do a roundup afterwards, is some of the reporting over the last week on the big news items that have hit cage side seats. I want to talk about them because it's very important that you know who you can trust, who you can't trust, and to what level. It's also very important, I feel, to know that everyone gets things wrong at times. Everyone. So I want to make a point every now and then of doing this, just talking about the rumours, talking about what I know as prompts, and talking about what's been proven right, what's been proven wrong. This is one of those that really helps you understand the pro wrestling landscape and helps you, I hope, understand that the best way you can follow wrestling journalists is by following multiple and not automatically believing anyone. Okay? There is a good thing in two people reporting the same thing because that confirms it. But you also have to consider if they're using the exact same source. That's a difficulty. I want this chat to be the most well-informed chat in wrestling. So every now and then we have to talk about wrestling in general. Let's talk about the big news items. The big news items that have hit the news in wrestling over the past week or so. Talk about what we know and what we don't. So, starting with, on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said he heard the Usos are both cleared to work Elimination Chamber in Montreal this weekend. In the past, Jimmy Uso has been unable to travel to Canada due to his DUI arrests. Meltzer did add the caveat of him being told that could be a swerve or a storyline. Now, a few things here. Dave Meltzer has taken a bit of a beating in these rumour reports previously. Here, he was 100% correct. Jimmy Uso did work Elimination Chamber. Though what I will say is, having also added the caveat of maybe he will, maybe he won't, it does sort of weaken the success here. But he was the only person reporting it, to my knowledge. Jimmy Uso did arrive. This, by the way, is going from Cage Side Seats and their reporting. A report on WrestlingNews.co's new premium pay site claims that people in WWE who would know believe Matt Cardona's return to the company is imminent. I hate the phrase people who would know. I hate that. So you're saying like Chelsea Green or Triple H. There's no guarantee of anyone else who would know. It's a very difficult one. Now, we'll wait and see what happens with Matt Cardona. I've not personally heard anything about this, but if Chelsea Green is back, it certainly suggests that there is fire to this one. That said, you guys know how I feel about certain premium pay sites, and WrestlingNews.co is another one who's taken a bit of a beating recently. Regarding the report, Triple H told Devon Dudley WWE would fire him if he worked an Indies ECW tribute show. Dudley told Wrestling News Premium's Steve Fall that he never spoke to Triple H directly during that, but no, he did not threaten to fire me. Beyond that, Devon said he couldn't go into any more detail. This is in response to a report from PWInsider, which the subject, Devon Dudley, has said is absolutely not true. So chalk that, unfortunately, to a wrong one for PWInsider. Worked Wrestling, first time I've heard this one, claims Trish Stratus is coming back to WWE soon for a lengthy program in what will be an unexpected role. This is a nothing report. An unexpected role. So if she comes back in the 6-woman tag, you can still claim that's unexpected. You still could. Also, how do you define a lengthy role? A lengthy program? There's no meat to these bones. WWE had a lot of props for a Valentine's themed segment backstage at Monday Night Raw this week, says Fightful Select, but they obviously didn't end up going ahead of it. Again, this is a report that cannot be proven right or proven wrong. We will never know the answer to this. It's simply impossible. We will never know the answer. So I always find it interesting asking the question on public interest here. WrestleVote said there are 5 different movie trailer videos WWE is doing for its WrestleMania Goes Hollywood promotion. Miz and Maurice in Top Gun, The Judgment Day in Stranger Things, The Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre in 40-Year-Old Virgin, which sounds hilarious, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins in Batman and Joker, and The Bloodline in Goodfellas. This, of course, has been confirmed because we've already seen Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins in their roles. So that's a win for WrestleVotes on that one. There has been some fan speculation that Cody Rhodes was guaranteed a championship win at WrestleMania when he signed with WWE last year. Wrestling Observer Radio's Dave Meltzer shot down this idea, stating that WWE made no such commitment to Rhodes. I can confirm what Dave Meltzer is saying here. No such commitment was made to Cody Rhodes about a guaranteed WWE championship win. There was no confirmation made there. The decision to have Cody Rhodes win the championship at WrestleMania was made almost the second he picked up his injury before the Hell in a Cell match. Meltzer said Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes will be the main event of Night 2 at WrestleMania. The match will not take place on Night 1. Why would it? Who asked this question? Surely this is one of the most obvious reports you've ever seen. Of course, the main event of WrestleMania will be Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Why would it take place on Night? I don't understand the question here. I don't understand. Unless this is in reference to The Rock, which is another one where Dave Meltzer rumour killed a rumour that he had started. Per Wrestling Observer, WWE's original plan for the main event of Elimination Chamber was for Sami Zayn to lose and Jey Uso to turn on him, which would set up Zayn and Kevin Owens challenging the Usos for the tag titles at WrestleMania 39. However, Dave Meltzer says Zayn has proven to be an actual numbers mover, so it's at least possible they've changed plans based on Sami's popularity. Once again, this is a trend that we're seeing with Dave Meltzer that I want to highlight. He has reported this is a plan, but also it might not be. He's reported both things. And it's concerning me. You're either reporting something or you're not. So, which is it? Of course, that isn't what actually happened, but it was very close to. Jey Uso was speared by Sami Zayn. And certainly I believe that will be the launchpad for the Usos versus Zayn and Kevin Owens. Regarding WWE's creative plans for Zayn, Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer that Vince McMahon does have input into this one. He definitely does. This confirms a report that I made last week that Vince McMahon has been involved in the booking for Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns over the past few weeks, and indeed the beginning of the storylines. Trish Stratus was originally booked for Monday Night Raw, according to Wrestling Observer. She would have likely been there to build towards a rumoured Damage Control versus Becky Lynch, Lita and Trish match, but Dakota Kai's injury put those plans on hold. Meltzer writes that the Trish Stratus angle isn't dead. I can confirm that. That is exactly what has happened and exactly what the plan was. The Dakota Kai injury is more severe than they expected. She has not been cleared. They did think she would be within time for Elimination Chamber. PWInsider claims that Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins is 100% set in stone for WrestleMania 39. Certainly Elimination Chamber has confirmed that, but that was a report that we made after the Royal Rumble anyway. It was a clear one to see. I'm not going to sit here and give myself credit for reporting that one. The storyline made it quite clear anyway. All I did was reach out, ask the question, and get confirmation. Duh, yeah, obviously. So, there's our rumour kill. I do like to highlight when they get things right, when they get things wrong. There wasn't a huge amount of them there, but if that's something people are interested in, we'll see more of it. So just let me know if that's something you want to see more of, because I don't really... If I'm just bashing wrestling journalists, I don't really want to do it, but if you consider it informative, then it may be of value. Okay, where are we? Where are we? Here we go. Here we go. Parrish says, would Dustin leaving AEW and returning at Mania to take out Solo to help Cody win not be poetic with all the Dusty talk? It would be a beautiful moment. I'm not aware of any WWE interest in Dustin. If it was, it would be a one-time deal. And to be fair, Triple H would be behind that. Justin Check says, remember. Just remember. And that has become a bit of a catchphrase here. Because, as I say, everyone at times get things wrong. Everyone. We looked specifically because a lot of people are asking me questions about Zero News. So after the Royal Rumble, we looked in depth on everything Zero News had reported about the Royal Rumble. They were 2 in 10. Just specifically about the Royal Rumble itself, 2 in 10. I feel that was helpful. But as much as anything, you don't judge someone by 1 or 2 reports. Take down everything that they report for 3 months. Then you'll find out how good they are. Because I promise you, in that 3 months, they will get something wrong. They will. They absolutely will. Simon says, do you think we get a possible Bianca versus Liv if Bianca gets drafted to SmackDown? Both faces, so it's unlikely. I think we're more likely to see brief tag teams. Thomas says, what's your prediction for Liverpool versus Real Madrid? I think we get smashed, mate. I think we get smashed. Eddie says, update on Jay White, Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega. Go ahead. Venom says, do you think Jay turns on Sami soon? I don't think it's necessarily a turn. I do think Jay ends up competing with Sami. I don't think he's happy about it, but I think he does it. At WrestleMania, I don't think this is going to be hatred. I don't think this is going to be hatred. I really don't. I think this is going to be a lot of respect in this match. Perry says, I think Sami versus Jimmy should be on SmackDown and Jay should help Jimmy win. Only to do a beatdown and have KO come back to save. Then again, we end the show with no reunion yet. I like that idea. I think you're on the right track. I would like to give it 3 or 4 weeks before a formal reunion between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I would like Sami Zayn to apologise to Jey Uso tonight and Jey Uso to still be conflicted, personally. Justin says, more please, I think you balance it. If at any point it starts to get bitter, let me know, okay? I don't want that to happen. Spider-Boss says, I'd love to see a Rumour Killer section about PWInsider. I can certainly dig into that a little bit, make it a longer one, but I'll need to do quite a bit of research for it. I think that's targeting, though. So I'm not sure on that one. Spider-Boss also says, does Dakota Kai make it into WrestleMania? She's not cleared yet. Christoph says, Roman versus Cody will main event night 2. What a scoop. Thomas says, I'd like to see it after every premium live event as it helps to give a better idea of what sources to trust. Certainly, I think that's a good idea. That's why I've done it again here after the Royal Rumble one. We could do the 6-month look back. I might make that into a video, but I'm aware someone else does that already. So it wouldn't be unique content. Also, I think that's kind of stealing from Cage Side Seats. They provide a valuable resource that really is worth checking out. They look at the rumours 6 months ago and say whether or not they were true or not. And I've got to be honest, I looked at the one from last 6 months. It was a 50% record. And to be clear, they only report sources that they believe are trustworthy. I've got a great record on Cage Side Seats, personally. Check it out. You know the deal says with Mania just around the corner, how concerned are you of a rush storyline with Bray at whomever at the big show? I don't think we'll see Bray Wyatt versus the big show personally, though I will say Uncle Howdy getting involved, standing on Bray's shoulders to make a Muppet Man, could actually get Big Show out of a Royal Rumble. Video Schnit says, damn, longest spoiler warning ever, new record. Not quite, actually. Not quite. Back in the era when we were just Twitch, we actually hit 2 hours. That was an interesting time. My hope one day is that we'll be able to have spoiler warning straight into SmackDown. If there's interest, and if we still have questions, I'm still going to keep answering questions. I've not got that much news today. There are definitely shows where I have like 40 minutes of news. But I do remember when I first started, and I would script for 2 hours just to plan out everything that I was going to say. And then I'd read the script, and then I'd sign off. I'd answer like 15 questions, and I'd sign off. Nowadays, if I had no news, we could still do spoiler warning. We could. It works. Venom is saying it's lagging. Is anyone else getting lag? Just can we please check in? And is anyone else getting lag? Parrish says, if Tama and Jay White are to be WWE bound, could we not see them as a joint force hoping to take over WWE, a outsiders type angle? Oh, you've got some good ideas. Eddie says, do we see Jay White versus AJ Styles at Mania 39? No. Or Jay will appear on Raw after Mania? Maybe. We just take a breath, mate. Take a breath. You're assuming Jay White's going to sign with WWE. That has not happened. Eric says, an almost 2 hour stream. I'm ready for it. Venom says, when you were full time, would you maybe do an NXT watch along? No. Nope. At the moment, I do roughly 5 hours a week when you factor in premium live events. With Raw, I would go to 8 hours a week. And that would be where I stop. The law of diminishing returns has to be factored in. Thomas says, no lag for me. Video shit's getting minimal lag. Oh, you think this is orange, mate? Beer's not orange. You think I'm blind? I showed you the can. That looked real suspicious. Yes, Eric, I'm a big fan of Seth. Sean says, does Alexa come back as a heel? She's a heel at current, so yes. And Hector says, how far in advance do you think WWE have PLEs booked? Because if Sami and KO become tag champs, they assuredly would sell out a PLE in Canada while they're champs. They attempt to plan WrestleMania a year in advance. Doesn't always work, but they try. Doesn't always work, but they try. Other shows are a bit more on the fly, and they do have to make some changes at times. Clash at the Castle was 7 months in advance. Simon says, any news on Stone Cold Steve Austin non-wrestling role at Mania 39 yet? No news on there being one, first and foremost. I'm not sure where you got that from, Simon. I'd say quote your source, but we are now going to wrap up because we've been live for an hour and 45 minutes. And Tom going to get some sleep. Hummingbird says, is it Bray versus Bobby at WrestleMania? No, it is looking more like Bobby versus Brock at WrestleMania still. I will be doing more WrestleMania card predictions. Now we're a little closer to it, so we'll be getting that on Wednesday. One thing I do want to say as well, though, in addition to please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, I am putting something together about WWE sale and the latest news on that. I'm just trying to get confirmation on a few things. One of the big ones is a bid that is roughly 10 million, but would be worth 6 billion to the WWE. That's the tease I've got for that one. Okay, that's the tease I've got for that one. Perish, I'm definitely doing a Mania watch along. We could certainly look into something like that a bit closer to time. Let's chat about it and see how it would work on the channels and everything. You've got to consider this channel's monetized, which means this content cannot appear on any other channels. It has to be unique to here, but there are ways to make it transformative. Venom says, when will we get Charlotte versus Bayley? When they book it. And Simon says, do you see Io Sky becoming a singles world champion this year? Everything is on the No, I don't. Until then, I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining me. I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.